Happy New Year to the squad. Hope y'all are having a great start to the new year. I just want to say sorry that this upload is late. I had intended to get this up before the new year started, but here we are. This is the results of my top 10 albums of 2023. I want to give a big shout out to Breezy, my wife, because ironically, she was the first one to get 4 out of the 10 in my top 10, and it's impressive. I'm not gonna lie. She was the only one. The next closest one was one of my closest friends. He had 3 out of 4, but better luck next year if you didn't get it. Just know that they got this up to a week before the rest of y'all did. So, hey, if that's not motivation enough for the next one, then I don't know what is. Thank y'all for watching and enjoy. I'm a genuine fan of his, and this is one of my favorite albums of the year that I just kept bumping up to and through the end of the year. Of course, we got my boy Leon Thomas on the list. He dropped his debut album, Electric Dusk, and I have been in love with it. Every time I go back to it, it's like I'm finding more things about songs that I didn't even realize that I liked. My top 3 from Leon Thomas's Electric Dusk are Sneak, Breaking Point, and Slow Down. I love these songs. His voice is so buttery smooth. I can't wait to see what else he does, especially in the new year. If he's going on tour, you can best believe I'm copping tickets to that. Also on my top 10 of 2023 was the boy 6 Lack Black. Since I Have a Lover, I actually went to his concert during the Since I Have a Lover tour with my best friends and my wife, and I loved it. The concert was amazing, although come to find out, he brought J. Cole on stage at the very next tour stop. I was kind of salty, but hey, we'll let it go. We'll let it slide. Top 3 off of Since I Have a Lover are the titular track, Since I Have a Lover, Tit for Tat, which is a song that I've been singing a lot in my head. I don't know why, but it really got stuck there. And Talk Back. Talk Back is such a banger to me. I love that song. Those are my top 3 off Since I Have a Lover. I'm still bumping that album right now, right here, till this day. Right? Like I actually was bumping Talk Back before I started recording this video, so that's pretty funny to me. Another one of my top 10 albums, this one came out earlier in the year, and to be honest, even when it first came out, I had no doubt that I was going to be listening to this album for the rest of the year and loving it for the rest of the year. This one was Rory, I Thought It'd Be Different. This album did not get the love it deserved. Production-wise, I thought it was beautiful. The features, I thought were beautiful. The songs themselves, I thought were beautiful. And every time I listen to it, for me personally, it's a no skip. So, hey, it definitely made my top 10. My favorite 3 tracks off of I Thought It'd Be Different were My Phone Can Die, I Want You But You'll Never Know, and Don't Go. Those 3 tracks are the tracks that I found myself going back to the most. Man, this album, it was so well done, and it was unexpected. I wasn't expecting this from, for lack of a better word, a radio personality, a talk show host, Joe Budden's backup. Anywho, shout out to Rory, he killed it. Also making my top 10 was Post Malone's Austin album. For me, it really felt reminiscent of Stoney, because when Stoney came out, there were hit singles that everybody knew about, but after the dust settled and you went back and you listened to the album, it was an extremely solid album. It had some of my favorite tracks of all Post Malone's discography on there. We're not even gonna talk about I Fall Apart and how freaking gut-wrenchingly beautiful that song is. I got the same feeling from Austin, and honestly, I loved it. My top 3 were Overdrive, Chemical, and Morning. If you have a chance, please go check out this album if you haven't. I think that you'll enjoy it. I really do, because I did. This next album, this might be a surprise for a lot of people, but honestly, I found myself struggling to find hip-hop and rap very interesting this year. It felt extremely cookie cutter, if I'm being honest. There was nothing that really piqued my interest. There was nothing that topped the charts. There was nothing that honestly just was like, ooh, yes, this is it for me. when it came to hip hop this year. But Killer Michael, this album was extremely well done. I love the narrative he was telling. I love the message of each of the songs. The features were hitting, and of course, I just think Killer Mike is a phenomenal MC. So I always love hearing him rap. My top three: Scientists and Engineers, My N-Word, and Don't Let the Devil. Those three tracks right there, they had a vice grip on me when I was listening to this album, and honestly, I don't think that's going anywhere. Scientists and Engineers was especially hitting for me because it had that Andre 3000 feature on it, and I loved it. This is an album I don't think a lot of people expected, or if you know me and you keep an eye on the stuff that I do, maybe you could have guessed this, but Jungkook released his debut English album, Golden, and in my opinion, it was a pop masterpiece. I loved it, every second of it. It was one of those no skips for me. There are tracks, of course, that I liked more than others, but honestly, I could go through and listen to the whole thing without skipping a single song, and I loved it. And I think he did a phenomenal job tapping into his Western audience. As a K-pop idol, I definitely think that this was something that a lot of people didn't expect, especially a lot of his Korean and Asian and just international fans in general. I mean, I know the Western audience is probably the biggest music consumption audience in general, but when it came to this project, he definitely delivered. Yes or No, Shot Glass of Tears, and Standing Next to You are my top three tracks. And I honestly don't even know how to describe them. I just sat there and I listened to them with a smile on my face because it just felt so natural. It felt so smooth, and it felt like he knew exactly what he was doing, and whoever was helping him definitely knew which direction to steer him in. So shout out to him and his team on that one. This one was more made it onto the list as through the production side of things. The Jonas Brothers, the album, I really enjoyed a lot of the album, I really did, but my love for it came in the production. It definitely had those hints of Jon Bellion in it. Jon Bellion, one of my favorite artists, one of my favorite producers, one of my favorite musicians, if I'm being honest, and you could tell he left his stamp on that as far as production went, but it just also meshed so very well with the Jonas Brothers style that I honestly just found myself enjoying it altogether. My favorite three songs off of the album are Walls with Jon Bellion, Wings, and Sail Away. Those three songs, those are just chef's kiss to me, and I find myself listening to Wings at least twice a day, if I'm being honest. It's short enough that I can do so, but it also just makes me I love that song so much. Another album that made it on my list, more so off of production value than anything else, was Travis Scott's Utopia. That album is an experience. I listened to it all the way through multiple times, and every single time I listened to it, I was picking up on new things that he threw in there that made me love the album. I can't deny it. Travis Scott is a great producer. It's blowing my mind. If you go through his discography and you listen to his tracks and you listen to how creative he is, if you listen to how outside of the box his music is when it comes to production, I think it just hits different, especially with Utopia. My favorite tracks off Utopia were Meltdown with Drake. I'm not gonna lie, Drake made me love that song. Like, the production, I really liked it after that, but when I heard Drake, like, his delivery was phenomenal. Fiend was fire, and Hyena. Those are my top three tracks off of Utopia. And of course, rounding out my top 10 albums of 2023, we have Mariah the Scientist, To Be Eaten Alive. I had been a fan of Mariah the Scientist, but this really made me a fan of Mariah the Scientist. This girl can sing. This album was so fire. Like, the very first time I listened to it, I was like, wow, I did not expect to enjoy it that much all the way through on the very first listen. But I did, and I kept going back. I sure did. My top three tracks off of this album are Ride, 40 Days and 40 Nights, and About Mine. To be honest, I think the entire album was phenomenal. I think the features fit right in and didn't add or take away. Or let me take that back. They definitely added to it, but they didn't take away from it in any way, in my opinion. Honestly, I can't wait to go see Mariah the Scientist. She's coming to Washington in March, so best believe I'm copping tickets and I'm gonna be there. This album was so well done, in my opinion, and she deserved more flowers for it. There you have it. My top 10 albums of 2023, a little bit about why I enjoyed them and my favorite tracks off of each of them. Now, we have some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list, but they were pretty close to making the list. If these others had just, maybe one or two less tracks that I enjoyed on them, maybe one of these other albums could have slid in. I'm going to throw those up on the screen right now. And to be honest, the one or two most worth talking about, in my opinion, are Doja Cat, Scarlet. As much as I loved that album, Doja Cat was rapping on it. Like, that was an album for everybody who said Doja wasn't a rapper. She said, "Let me show y'all, hold my pen." Man, that girl's... Ooh, that album was fire. But just barely missed my top 10. And surprisingly, Morgan Wallen, One Thing at a Time. I have definitely been journeying more into the country music side of things this year, and while I can honestly say Morgan Wallen is one of those artists for me that I will definitely be checking for moving forward, there just wasn't enough in his album for me to make it to the top 10, but it was definitely worth mentioning because, like I said, I didn't even expect myself to enjoy his album that much, but I did. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what was your top 10 albums of 2023. Feel free to drop down to the comments and let's talk about it. Of course, look in the description. You'll find links to all my other social medias, my TikTok, my Instagram, all that. Go ahead, throw me a follow, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm gone.